Bitcoin is going up in anticipation of the halving. Interest in cryptocurrencies is growing. Interest in DeFi applications is going to grow. Interest in privacy cryptocurrencies is going to grow. And what if we could fuse privacy with DeFi? That's what I'm going to be talking about in this video.
NordVPN is becoming more than just a VPN. Threat protection will guard your device against malicious websites, malware, trackers, and intrusive ads, even if you're not connected to a VPN server at the time. Step up your cybersecurity and stay safe.
Introducing the EliPal Titan 2.0 hardware wallet. Super secure, super safe, super easy to use. Use my link bit.ly/CryptoRichEliPal for a discount. Hi everybody, it's Crypto Rich. Welcome you to Get Rich with Crypto, filling our pockets with crypto profits. Yes, happy days are here again. The bear market is over. Definitely. We got 2 years of run up, 2 years of loads and loads of really great projects that are going to be growing and growing and growing. And we're going to be talking about one in particular. Now, before I introduce my guest, please subscribe, follow me on Twitter, CryptoRichYT, join my official Telegram announcements channel. And if you're watching this on YouTube, come over to bit.ly/CryptoRich3Speak or bit.ly/CryptoRichOdyssey. Both of them are censorship resistant platforms and both of them let you earn crypto. Hey Carter, thank you so much for making yourself available.
Yes, thank you so much for having me on. It's been too long. We've made it
Too
through
long.
the frozen winter tundra of the bear market, and here we are emerging out the other side with optimism.
Yes. Happy days are here again, right? I was saying to you before we started recording, this is my fourth bull market, so it's been the end of my third bear market. Oh, okay, finally over. Here we go again, right? And you're the lead dev for Shade Protocol. Now, for people who are familiar, because you've been on before, I own Shade. I think it's a great project. We're going to go into it, but it's part of the secret network ecosystem, which is part of the Cosmos ecosystem, which is part of cryptocurrencies, and it all rests on the shoulders of Satoshi Nakamoto. So we're going to do 2 videos, and in the first one, we're going to do a short video on what is Shade Protocol and what's so special about it and how it works, and then a subsequent video where we'll talk about what's coming down the pipeline with Shade. So do you want to start with giving us a general overview of what is Shade?
Yeah, I think to give an overview of Shade, it's good to start with the problem. Blockchains today are completely transparent. All the metadata is just sitting out there for everyone to watch. Anytime you go and make a transaction on something like Ethereum, there are these programmatic actors watching your transaction, seeing if they can insert and extract value away from you. All your leverage positions, if you're long or you're short, there's people there that have incentives to try to liquidate you, and they can see how close you are to those liquidations. Commerce. How are we supposed to do commerce on a blockchain when, like, if I go and purchase a hot dog and that person can go on a block explorer and say, wow, Carter has this much money, right? That's like a security risk, right?
Yep. Salaries
on a blockchain. Imagine I'm a Web3 company and I want to pay my employees. And the whole, the employees can look, that address is getting paid that much money and I'm only getting paid this much money, right? So there's privacy is valuable. It's part of our everyday financial world. And in crypto, total transparency has its advantages, but it also has its disadvantages. Mm. And so with Shade Protocol, we've had this thesis for over 2 years at this point, that privacy is the key to unlocking the full value of a decentralized future. And so at Shade Protocol, we combine privacy with all of the key financial verbs that you care about, right? Sending crypto, trading crypto, borrowing, lending, bridging. We add privacy to all these different pieces of the puzzle. We give you the tools to also decrypt your data, hand it off to the right parties if needed. And yeah, at Shade Protocol, we believe it's your data, your money, your decisions. That's what it's all about. That's what crypto is all about.
Yep. And the thing you said about decentralization, transparency is really great for the forces of centralization, because it allows them to gather that data and do what they want. And for people who are just coming into crypto, as I think many more people will be now that Bitcoin is rising, is one of the things that happens with transparent blockchains is front running. So I place a trade, I want to buy a particular crypto, and then somebody else can see that trade waiting in line to be processed and then can take advantage of that knowledge. Or if somebody's using, I mean, the salary example is great, but also a competitor. If I'm running a mechanic shop or something like that, and my competitors can see how much I'm earning and how much I'm charging. So definite advantages. And without privacy, there is no freedom. And just on that, Carter, I thought it just occurred to me listening to you is that without privacy, we lose our individuality.
Yes, I just got chills right now. Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
I'm no longer can withdraw myself from the public sphere, but I'm not free because I'm always surveilled, always being watched. So no freedom without privacy. Okay, so completely sold with you on privacy. I think I'm one of the volunteer crew at Pirate Chain, so kindred spirit there, right? So then what is Shade?
Yes. So what Shade actually is it's a set of smart contracts built on top of Secret Network. So Secret Network is a blockchain, right? What's really unique about it is all of the nodes on the network have a certain type of hardware that has these things called secure enclaves. And the beauty of secure enclaves is nobody can look inside of those pieces of hardware, not even the node runners themselves. And there's this whole set of cryptography and key rotation kind of tied to these nodes to have this long-term security. And the way you can think of Shade Protocol then is like Uniswap is to Ethereum what Shade Protocol is to Secret Network, right? We are the decentralized finance on top of this privacy preserving blockchain.
Okay, now I get it. Which is given that I've been with Shade right from the start at last. Now I get it. Okay, but that was a great way of saying it. So people who don't know, Uniswap is a decentralized exchange, offers all sorts of decentralized finance type transactions for the entire Ethereum blockchain, all the Ethereum assets. Okay, and Shade Protocol offers that for the Secret Network assets. But Secret Network doesn't it have its own exchanges like Secret Swap and a few others?
So there's some original pioneers in the world of decentralized finance on Secret Network. One of them was called Secret Swap. Another one of them was called Sienna Swap. But both of them have kind of wound down in terms of liquidity and usage. And so Shade Protocol, we've had the blessing to be able to like learn from them, even interact with them and their developers. So there's like definitely a developer community on Secret Network, which is super cool. The biggest differences between Shade and kind of those initial experiments, I would call them, is Shade is so much more than just like a decentralized exchange. It also has kind of like one of the world's first private stable coins called SILK. Mm-hmm. We have a bridging experience, and we also have a lending and borrowing market on the way, which I think we'll talk about in the next video. So our goal is to encompass the full range of Ethereum DeFi use cases that you're familiar with, but then have them with that privacy and in essentially like a super app. We want in the palm of your hand to have essentially like a crypto bank that protects your privacy, and you can do all these financial functions. You can earn all this yield. You can move your money around. You can spend it in your everyday life, all from the palm of your hand, all while protecting your data and your decisions. So.
Okay, and just there's no data on the blockchain that's publicly accessible, like there is, say, with Bitcoin or Ethereum.
Yes. So essentially, there are still some public pieces of data, but it's bare minimum. That's just information such that all the different nodes on the network can talk to each other. But right. On the smart contract level, yes, the vast majority of your data is encrypted. And if you like try to look at the data, it literally is encrypted. It looks like mumbo jumbo, right? Which is a good thing. That's the way we like it.
That is a good thing. Okay, and Shade has it has a private stable coin called SILK. Now, now for people who don't know, a stable coin is a coin that keeps the same value. So Tether is always $1. It might go up and down by a fraction of a cent or something. USDC, BUSD. There's others as well. But they're all transparent, so then people can see, okay, someone's moved a whole amount of Tether into a centralized exchange. They're going to buy something. They're going to buy something. So then others can say, okay, follow that trade. But a private stable coin, so nobody can see who's sending it where or whatever? How do we know that more aren't being magicked up from somewhere?
Yeah, so this is the beauty of smart contracts on Secret Network is you can choose to have certain pieces of data publicly visible, and whereas certain individuals' data can remain private. So things like the amount of silk in circulation is publicly visible information, and like the collateral backing is also public information. But how much each individual holds and of that over collateralization that's backing the stablecoin, who owns what portion of it, that data is encrypted and kept private. And so, what I like to say is transparency for public goods, privacy for individuals. That is the ideal crypto endgame. If you have just total transparency, you can have some really bad outcomes. If you have total privacy, to your point, how do you know like this protocol or this system isn't cheating you in some way, right? But if you have a nice hybrid mix where your individuality and your metadata is protected, but kind of these important protocol pieces of information are public, then you can trust the system and be protected at the same time.
Right. Okay. And then you said collateral backed.
Mm-hmm.
So say something about that, like
Yes.
a 1 year old.
Yes. So essentially, for a stable coin to uphold its promise, it has to be able to be sold for like the promised amount of value, right? So like a USDC, in order for it to be considered a stablecoin, you have to be able to sell it for a dollar amount of value or redeem it for a dollar bill on the other end, right?
Yeah.
And so in the same sense, Silk has a target peg, right? And so it has to be able to be sold on the open market for a corresponding amount of value, or it has to be able to essentially be like turned back in and redeemed against existing collateral. And it essentially has both of those functionalities. And the key part of the
Carter, sorry, excuse me. So, because it's got to stay at $1, and if the demand for it goes up, like suddenly lots of people start buying silk, well, what would ordinarily happen is the price of it will go up. And if the people start selling silk, the demand for it crashes, then the price will go down. So, what we're talking about is a mechanism that manages the supply and the fluctuations caused by supply and demand.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, it's a really good explanation where if Silk is above its target peg, there are incentives in this collective decentralized community to essentially lock up more collateral, mint out Silk, expanding the supply, and that ultimately brings it back down to the target peg. And in a similar sense, if Silk is ever under peg, people can buy that Silk, which pushes it back up to peg, and they can turn that Silk back in and kind of realize a discount from Silk being under peg or over peg. So it's held together with really interesting arbitrage mechanisms, and our model follows the same exact model that MakerDAO uses. So anyone familiar with DAI, they've been around for 4+ years, billions of DAI in circulation, really proven track record with their model. So this isn't like an algorithmic stablecoin like UST. The world has learned some hard lessons there, and so we're following a tried and true model, but we add on privacy into the equation. And then the other piece is that Silk's peg, this is the other component, actually is slowly, it's not targeting the dollar, it's actually slowly tracking a basket of currencies and commodities. So it tracks gold, Bitcoin, the dollar, the yen, the Canadian dollar, and the US dollar. So it ends up being like this inflation resistant stablecoin that protects your privacy and is over collateralized.
Very good. And then where it's useful is, let's say I go and buy, what can I buy in Shade? I can go and buy Shade, SHD, the ticker symbol. And when the price of Shade goes up or goes too high, I think, okay, well, I'll move into Silk, sell it for Silk, and then should the price of Shade go down, then I can go buy back into Shade, like people do with Bitcoin and Tether, for example. Becomes possible with Shade and Silk. And then what is the purpose of Shade as a token?
Yes. So one other use case I'll say for Silk before I talk about that is we are actually shipping. It's going to be added to the app, and we'll talk about this in the next episode a little bit more. But I can't help myself. I got to mention it briefly. There's going to be the world's first prepaid debit cards that are compatible with Silk. So from the app, you'll be able to load your card up with Silk, and then actually use that card, swipe, and buy transactions. It's starting off in Europe. It's compatible in Europe initially. And so Silk will be more than just, I can trade. And those are great. Like decentralized finance use cases, we're all about that. But we also believe it's really important to have Silk be useful as currency that needs to be usable in everyday commerce. Not a lot of stablecoins have made that jump, that leap. And we've been really focused on that partnership. So we'll talk about more about that in the next episode.
We will talk about that. We will talk about that.
We
And
will. We will. So Shade as a token is the governance and security token that protects the protocol. So essentially, Shade Protocol is launching app after app after app, use case after use case after use case, and all these different pieces of the puzzle all have different parameters, right? Like the little levers that can be moved up and down, and Shade and the collective community can essentially govern all these different applications and their parameters. Additionally, Shade, the reason staking exists is you want to make sure that no one can come in and buy up 51% of the supply so that they can just pass votes that are like, I'm going to change this parameter to that malicious thing, right? So the other purpose of Shade staking, Shade besides just governance, is also staking. And the way staking is incentivized is all of the fees generated on the platform are given back to Shade stakers. So on a weekly basis, as fees are collected, they get converted into the Shade token, and then people who stake their Shade passively earn income. So as more users come on the platform, more fees will be generated, the more the Shade token is rewarded. So it's very much like a collective, we all get to benefit together. And then the reason stakers are paid is not just because they own the token, but because they're also improving the security of the entire system.
yes, they're keeping the blockchain secure that runs all these transactions. Okay, this is interesting because I have Shade, and I know there's a very small supply of Shade as well. So the more Shade that gets locked up in staking, then as the users on this application grow, then the value of the Shade is likely to go up. No guarantees, not financial advice, but it's likely to go up. Okay. All right. And then for people who don't know that, you said they're going to be borrowing and lending available, but also you can stake, you can put money in liquidity pools and earn an income. And we're not going to go into that now, right?
Oh, playground. It's a DeFi playground.
Decentralized finance playground, right? Anything else you want to let us know about Shade and Silk?
Oh man, I think the most
Just as a
interesting
general overview, right?
Yeah, as a general overview, like I would say it's good to give some metrics, right? We have $20 million in total value locked on the platform. So that's pretty awesome. That's one of the largest private DeFi suites in the world. It's got to be a top 2 or top 3. There's plenty of really good transactional platforms like Monero and Zcash, but they're only focused on protecting sending money from A to B.
Yeah,
Shade Protocol is one of the world's
currencies.
yes,
Just coins, yeah, privacy coins.
they're just coins all about transfers versus Shade Protocol. We're actually providing use cases with privacy, right? So we're one of the biggest in the world in that sense, and it's increasingly become more and more distributed. And it's been such a blessing to see the privacy community rally around Shade Protocol. And yeah, I would invite you to check it out: app.shadeprotocol.io or shadeprotocol.io. Learn more about what we're doing, dabble around with it. We also added support for EVM wallets recently. So if you're a MetaMask user, for instance, you don't have to go install a new wallet. You can actually connect your MetaMask wallet. You can bridge in Ethereum assets to the Shade platform and start enjoying those privacy guarantees. So yeah.
Very cool. Very cool. Okay. Now, you said earlier about becoming a privacy bank. What about regulations? You intersect with those because there are some privacy cryptocurrency projects where the team are anonymous and the coin has supreme privacy and everything, and they're not interested in honoring regulations. So where does Shade position itself here?
A great question. It's a hard question, but it's a necessary question. So I actually had the chance to visit Washington, D.C. This is probably 4 or 5 weeks ago because there was a privacy panel held on Capitol Hill. So I literally marched into Washington, D.C. and was able to talk with different representatives and different staffers on the Hill. And so it's very interesting because there's people on crypto Twitter that talk about engaging with regulators, but I'm one of those people that has actually in building out those relationships and talking with it. So as a whole, it's tough. There's some decisions that regulators need to make that haven't been made yet. From their perspective, they view privacy as a threat to national security, right? They would say, oh, like someone like North Korea, someone like Russia, they can bypass sanctions. United States citizens are interacting with non-United States citizens in an unregulated environment, and so there can be a transfer of value to these nation states. And this is like a very strong criticism. It's a fair criticism, right? And I think Zuko from Zcash, he's one of the oldest privacy guys around. He's got more gray hairs than I do. And the regulators were asking him kind of this question. I think he had a brilliant response. His response was, the internet that we use today is used for horrific things. There are horrific things that are actually done on the internet, but collectively, as a society, we have come to the consensus that the value of open and shareable information across the world is a stronger net force for good than it is for evil. And there is definitely that evil that happens there, undoubtedly.
Yep.
And so in the same sense, the power of an open financial system that is fair is a stronger force for good than it is for evil. And I think it was such a brilliant answer because it doesn't try to footsie around the fact that like privacy is powerful.
Yeah.
It empowers people freedom. It empowers their sovereignty. But because like those protections, because they're so powerful, they're worth defending. And another piece of the puzzle too is like, and I know I'm talking very, very much from like an American perspective, but you have the amendment rights where it's like, if you want to come and subpoena my information and my transactions, you can, right? There's no reason we can't have private DeFi where if a regulator wants to and has some suspicion that, yeah, come give me a subpoena and I'll give you my data, right? But you got to go through the court of law. You have to have reasonable cause, right? So I guess my summary of the situation would be is the battle is coming. It is happening on Capitol Hill. There are more politicians and folks that are pro-Constitution, pro-defending human rights. And I think the battle lines are being drawn, and I think our industry is going to win. I think, of course, regulatory regimes want to damage this movement. They want to be in control of it. But in many ways, the cat's out of the bag, and they know that. But over 20% of like Americans own crypto. Like, so you can't just, the days of like, oh, we just blanket ban crypto, those days are gone. It's too late. It's too late for them to do that. And money is such a sensitive topic. Like data, a lot of people have shrugged off like, oh, they take my data, whatever, you can market to me better, which is a really bad take, by the way. That's a whole different discussion. But like, if you come for our money, right? I think that gets people really fired up. Yeah. I know a lot of people that get fired up because that represents my labor, my work, my individuality.
But also how we access essentials like food and shelter, you know, in a complex society. So it's essential for survival. It's how we access resources.
Yes.
Yes. And the forces of centralization, the banks and those that they back, they don't want to be cut out. They want their share of the business, right? We're going to cut out the rentiers, so the rentiers ain't going to like this. So I think there is that going on. I agree with you there, Carter.
Oh, I mean, yeah, the war is definitely coming, and I think the end result is there's going to be some hybrid stuff where like centralized finance integrates into decentralized finance. There's going to be KYC, AML platforms, but in many ways, there's so much entropy. Like a good example is like the printing press. When the printing press first came out, they were heavily regulated. They had all these rules to try to stop the printing of paper because, like, you know, people could write books, they can write stories, it's free speech, right? And they tried to hold on to it in Europe, and oh, you have to be at this city with this license and this and that. But technology is so subversive, and it's such a powerful force that I think like they want to believe that they can regulate this and contain this. But I think the truth is that American values have always pushed for innovation in the world of technology, and the whole world has benefited from that. And I think the regulators will come kicking and screaming, and it'll be painful. But I think the cat's already out of the bag, and we can do things to help them, right? Like we can have tools in place such that, like, if I need to hand off encrypted transactions to be audited, totally doable. Those tools absolutely exist for Shade Protocol. They absolutely exist on Ethereum, like these types of crypto tax tooling stuff. But yeah, I think I feel good about the future. I'm quite optimistic.
Yes. I agree with you there. The forces of decentralization cannot be corralled or contained. Carter, anything else you want to say about this general overview of Shade and Silk?
I would just say, if you value your money, your data, and your decisions, that I truly believe Shade Protocol is one of the most ethical and consistent protocols that have pursued those protections for you. So come check it out. Come join the community. It's a very thoughtful group of people, and we would love to engage with you.
Fabulous, fabulous. And I have the links to the website and also Twitter and Telegram, and do check it out. And do also join us for our follow-up video, which will be out in a few days' time after this one. We're talking about all the exciting stuff that's happening with Shade Protocol, what they got coming down the line. And please share this video, comment, like, all that business. Carter, thank you so much. And between now and when I see you next, please keep filling your pockets with privacy, DeFi profits. This is Crypto Rich and Crypto Carter signing out. All the best. Bye-bye.